The battle between NA's mean green fighting machines rages on. Both their logos are green. Just trying to keep things interesting, guys. It's currently 2-0. LFM, as of yet, struggling to get their first win versus ENDEMIC. Yes.
Yesterday, Jolly Green Giant. Today, Mean Green Machine. Tomorrow, what?
It's not easy being green, J-How. That's what I've learned today.
Okay, hit me with more. There's Zagar has a green back.
Someone is green with envy at how well ENDEMIC's been playing. I know I am, because they've been playing pretty well. You want more?
Do I? do they?
Is it Towers of Doom? Do we get some green going on here? No.
Opposite.
LFM switch things up. I said that. If LFM switch over to Battleground choice, I think we'll be going to Sky Temple. And so we are. J-How, what do you make of Sky Temple for these two teams?
First ban Abathur.
All right.
No questions asked, which leaves open a Genji Tracer. And I think that if you're LFM, you want that Genji. I think you need that Genji to speed up the pace, to give a little bit more threat, because I think they've been lacking in that department so far. So for them, they are going to be second pick in this situation. If you're afraid of giving up Genji, then maybe you try and play around, ban the Genji, see if they ban the Abathur. I don't know. They got to do something to mix this up, because the pacing just, it doesn't seem like what we would expect from this LFM team, who knowingly probably wants to be aggressive at times. They're just having trouble initiating.
I'm going to hit you with something, and I don't want swabs to hit people. It's a saying, okay?
Oh, well, you didn't
know
follow
it's
it
a
up quick
saying.
enough, and you gave me like this look.
There was no look. That look was, think about this.
It was literally just, I'm going to hit you with something, pause. Longer pause.
Look, pausing is what I do when I talk sometimes, okay? It's called thinking before speaking. I'm going to hit you with something, and that thing is not something physical, and that's, I want Swabs to play Dahaka instead of Urel. Like, I know that she is awesome, and he's made plays with her, but I feel like the plays that he makes with Drag have just been so much more impactful for this team.
I 100% agree with you.
All right.
I 100% agree with you. So obviously Genji not going to be available, and ENDEMIC is making sure that Phoenix has had such a high priority for this team.
Mm-hmm. Two different Phoenix players, and Dansky has been doing a lot with this hero. They've had a lot of very awesome early game rotations, control of camps, and this Phoenix enables that quite a lot, especially with his wave clear. All right, Dahaka, Jaina? Dahaka, they could Li Ming later on.
I'm totally cool if you want to Li Ming later. I think that Jaina for them, unless they have super initiation like an ETC, and even then that's scary, because like, how do you engage into that? I'm totally okay if they just want to bring the Li Ming later. I am 1000% okay with that.
Maybe Dahaka and Hanzo, potentially?
I can dig it.
Or Malfurion.
Hanzo gives you boss control if you want to play around that.
Muradin.
So that gives them initiation with Muradin. It also gives you the global that we both think that they desperately need. So it's one of those things that. Hey. Why didn't you commit? You started it and then baited me into that.
So I started it and the camera moved.
You can still move. Well, although you are on a platform that has only so much distance to travel.
Only so far I can move around this desk, guys. Quit! We're analyzing a draft.
Yeah, but I'm analyzing how big that box is. Figured it's probably like a 3x1, so 3 across, 9 feet with 2 in the mid, so we got it.
This is quality content right here. Dahaka Muradin is great too. Muradin feels like it fits the theme of things that have been working for LFM. I felt like things were better for them. Not anything against Fury, it's more so what has been working for the team. And later on, they still have an option for something like a Li Ming with the follow-up damage there. Malfurion and Johanna, though, will be the next two picks for ENDEMIC.
And see, this is where I think that Dahaka definitely has a much stronger place, is that you can brush Stalker in, get onto that Malfurion. We even see, potential around the boss, come in on the backside, make the plays. We've seen that already once before. It's an opportunity to happen again, and I think with Muradin holding point is definitely something they can do, but again, the damage is there. And I think Li Ming is definitely considered here. And it's almost possible. I think ENDEMIC might actually try and get a ban on that. There's a lot of things you can ban at this point. Li Ming this is one of those rare times where I'd be okay with a Li Ming ban. Just knowing the fact that Figgy has played that a lot, I'd be more willing to play into a Jaina than I would a Li Ming. They both offer different forms of boss control. But again, the Hanzo, I think, also has to be in consideration here if you are looking to ban some of that damage.
Blaze ban from LFM, wanting to have the better of the solo. And of course, if they do want a double reset composition, I mean, Genji's off the table, but there's still things like maybe a Li Ming and a Gray main. Bunker staunches a lot of that. So they're going to stop that out now. Hanzo ban over the Li Ming.
And it takes away a lot of boss control.
Yeah, it does. There has felt like ENDEMIC throughout their drafts have been pretty focused on droplets. I do think that part of their high Phoenix control has been prioritizing some of Droplet's hero pool, especially since we've seen, you know, Genji be banned by LFM or ENDEMIC, Phoenix be picked up that early. Phoenix is obviously a good hero though.
There is a composition that has not been shown yet by LFM that I know they are willing to run. If it happens, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
But there is some flexibility on this team that we don't talk about too often yet. I'm curious if this might be the time that they run it. You don't want to leak anything, but when it shows, you'll know it. And if it's going to happen, I think this might be the moment.
Is this where the magic happens?
It's still a possibility.
Okay.
Still a possibility.
Jaina over Li Ming here.
Yeah, the amount of lockdown I think that you get, the potential AoE lockdown that you would get out of an ETC, not exactly there with a Muradin. Obviously, Dahaka can go there, but we have seen that Jaina did have the impact on that boss. Is if there is the, hey, you're going to stand on point, I'm going to stand on point, you just drop that Blizzard right down there, dare them to stand there and see how much damage they can actually take. So that does give you a different form of control as opposed to maybe a wave of force and some Li Ming combos.
Well, we now have 2 picks left for ENDEMIC. One of the backliners. No. Never mind.
We're 2 for 2 on Sonya, by the way.
Yeah, they could Li Ming, and yeah, they could Sonya too.
But we've also seen at times some teams have been willing to run Phoenix as the solo laner. I don't know if this is the time where you want to go triple backline, but...
I was going to say Task Tracer, and then I decided against it because that would have been the triple backline that I was considering too. They'll still Tracer though, but this time they have a Ural with this.
Yeah, and Tracer has a lot of options with very little lockdown on the other side. Muradin has to land a Stormbolt, Dahaka has to land a Tongue. Beyond that, those are tough options.
Yes, a lot of times LFM have been leaving their tank till the very end and then picking something like Varian we saw once versus that Tracer to get the guaranteed lockdown. In lieu of that, any point-and-click CC that you can think of on the outside of this?
I mean, I'm totally cool if we get a Gray main again. I mean, I don't think this is where we are going to see it from LFM, but if I were talking about any other team, I would be okay with the Gray main here. It gives you, again, that trade potential against the Tracer. It's not exactly the best to go into against a Johanna and potentially a Ural, but they need something that can at least thwart the onslaught of a potential Tracer diving your backline.
All right.
That's one we don't see often, but has been known to be a Tracer counter.
Yes, Cassia has blinds. There is the new talent that changed Seraph's Hymn at level 1, which has, among a lot of other things, cooldown reduction for your blind 2. Cassia, though, has been changed with all the armor changes. She got health and health regen along with the other heroes who received the armor changes, but as a result, her avoidance is less. It went from, I believe, 65 to 40. Yeah, it's at 40. So it's... Tracer also had her basic attack damage reduced a little bit, so we're going to get to see how this iteration of Cassia matches up versus a Tracer.
I mean, on paper, one of the best things to do against the Cassia is to bring spell damage, and Pulse Bomb is that. So now that you have the higher health pool, it does make it a little bit easier to go into that. Again, the damage trade-off in terms of the auto attacks versus the physical armor you're getting there, a little different. But again, the blind, I think in particular that you said, getting more damage, the cooldown reduction plus that bonus damage, that chunks pretty hard because it's 100% more bonus damage on top of that 20% that you have passively. So I think that does give you quite a bit, but we aren't going to see that. We're going to see charge strikes, keeping it classy.
Charge strikes can get a lot. You have Urel and Johanna up in the front, and if there's some grouping around temples and the like, trying to get more out of that. But what I do want to mention is that a lot of these Cassia drafts that you set up, you ideally have another blind with Cassia to get more out of things like Ring of the Leech. There is nothing else here for this team. It is purely the Cassia in straight response to Tracer, though blinds will also be able to help versus a little bit with Urel, but also with the Phoenix. But Johanna has blinds too, so this is not going to be the easiest of Cassia games to try to counter that Tracer.
I like how everybody casually walked in, and then Urel just whips out this giant hammer and just smacks everybody away. So one of the best ways to deal with that type of push is to just counter push, and that's exactly what ENDEMIC did, getting a little bit of structure damage in, which, depending on the temple prioritization, could come in. We've seen some really strong rotations from ENDEMIC based around the camps in the early game, and we've seen a lot of teams, depending on how they want to prioritize that top night camp, whether they want to be first or they want to be second. Generally, the teams that do it second are the teams that could get more value because they time that right around the temple. They get pushed during that. It gives them lane control, it gives them temple control, and a lot of times moves in to get in a very early fort.
LFM are making the faster transition to that lane after getting the Giants, whereas Malfurion and Tracer are going to stick toward the bottom for the moment and see if they can get some more sieging done. It does feel like this ENDEMIC this week is really focused on early structure damage, early sieging wherever they can, and they're going to see Dahaka stalk down to the bottom, setting up for this first temple phase.
Well, they've cleared the night camp, and it's a matter of timing. I think they're waiting to see what ENDEMIC does. Both teams have reasonably decent wave clear when it comes to those knights. Jaina, obviously the spell aura there, but Jaina does tend to burst through a lot of that with the Blizzard. Phoenix has really good clear, so it's not a matter of can you clear, it's just more of a matter of timing for both of these teams on how they want to prioritize the rotation.
Temple phase happening in 40, neither team, it's just a standoff for who wants to cap those bruisers earlier.
How about Cassia switching things up here at level 4? As you said, there's less value with that blind because you don't have as many blind opportunities. Instead, going into inner light, which it gives you a bigger radius. So if you're trying to hit a highly mobile Tracer with the blind, you get that. But you also, if you get stunned or rooted, you also get the blind to fall down underneath you. Not normally as value in this circumstance. I think it's more just the radius than anything, but does have its value in multiple ways.
Well, you've talked quite a bit about the mini stun that's in Condemn Blessed Shield. There's a 6-second cooldown in between when it can proc, but between that, the stun of Urel, the root of Malfurion, there are a lot of different things to set that off. And if you have a Urel and a Johanna barreling down on you, possibly the Tracer too, if she's starting to come in and put some damage in, it may be enough to help you survive. And because, again, we don't see another blind to get more out of the Ring of the Leech, there is the adaptation there, which is nice to see.
And I want to talk about adaptation and improvisation at this point, because generally, if you time this to get the second one, everybody's like, well, we get this, and then we get a guaranteed top fort. ENDEMIC, they counter-pushed mid and got basically the entire bottom tower of that mid lane. And now we see their rotation out. This is adaptation. Every time we see some new iteration of the meta in terms of the macro, we now see a different approach. Not only did they take down the entire fort wall with that temple, they took down the fort and they instantly rotated bottom. This is a team with a clear strategy, a clear early game strategy. And you could argue, Gilly, this is paying more dividends than the rotation that we're seeing now from LFM.
Well, it's better siege, J-How. with the heroes that they have, and mainly that's Phoenix, who may die here. He's gonna Stormbolt hit out of the warp, but Nature's Cure was there to get him out. It's just that Phoenix does so much with his consistent damage, whereas Jaina, you're looking at a very combo-centered hero, cooldown-focused hero, and then Cassia, she can't blind structures, so she's just old-fashioned Siege her way. So being able to use that every single game, and we have seen those game plans pay off for ENDEMIC. For here, it's a slight experience advantage, but LFM are starting to figure that out. They counter push the top, they get that with the Temple, but losing out the towers in the bottom could be problematic if ENDEMIC keeps this experience lead all the way into the next Temple phase.
Again, they've had excellent early game strategies, and they're kind of changing the way that we look at this map. Every week it seems like somebody has a new strategy every day, the way that people play around those nights, and then ENDEMIC comes in, changes it again. Dansky eats a bit of damage, only loses his shield. The counter engagement here by B-Kid, and the pulse bomb onto Cassia. Now all of a sudden, Muradin looking to run, and it looks like the rest of ENDEMIC, they're like, look, that's nice and all, but we got Siege Giants still here in the bottom, and they are pushing that lead that was just a quarter, half-level lead a moment ago, Gilly, full level now.
The level they can use on this fort. 2 seconds until Cassia is back. There's no 10 here. An LFM stay, Blessed Shield, Purification Salvo takes down Rhaegar. Biggie chases down Jaina, and Muradin's gonna fall behind all of that. Sticking around when they didn't have heroics, when ENDEMIC could lock them down, when they could dive underneath the fort with the minions, and ENDEMIC are out for a whole lot more and a whole faster game.
That brings up an entirely new problem. And with that bot fort down, the top fort did take a little bit of damage from that earlier wave, but nowhere near enough. So the Temple should conceivably take that down. When that happens, and this is an early Temple, we don't see this general rotation, so we'll have to see how much damage that does. That just empowers the boss bot lane, because the Temples prioritize the closest lane. And you can see this rotation up from ENDEMIC. They want to do damage to that top fort to make this boss even more powerful. You start to take down this structure, it looks like they're going to go ahead and back off on that, maybe look. And you could see there was a decision to potentially go up. Instead, I think they're going to try and push Droplets. Well, Droplets is about to die, I believe.
Yeah, this team is heavily separated. Droplets, the first, but likely not the last. Great hammer from Cure as he knocks Figgy into a corner. 2 kills, 2 more kills, 6-0 for ENDEMIC, who have amassed such a lead in this third and possibly final game here. LFM has some tough decisions to make if they're going to make it back in this game.
That channel is now back again. When that Temple falls, or when that top fort falls, then the shots will focus here on the bottom. And this, you gotta address it, right? So you can look at this differently. You can always say the win condition opens up early game from that early boss. But now we have to look at it in the sense that it's normally 5 minutes to 10 minutes down the road on that second cycle. Now at 7.5 minutes in, that bottom lane has been opened up so much that a later game, a mid-game boss at this point, guarantees keep and potentially game. And that is the difference of this early game strategy that we see. There is no wall. That is going directly to keep. And depending on where the next temples are, if it's top bottom, you best believe ENDEMIC will be prioritizing that bottom one to take down the first keep of the game.
Yeah, get an early keep does so much for the confidence of a team, but just for the game and what your opponents have to do for the rest of the game trying to defend versus those catapults. ENDEMIC backs off for a little bit, though they have the talent tier advantage. This is something that you can see teams do on Sky Temple. When you have that much of a structural lead, and when you have the objective that fires on structures directly, there is no need to present yourself for any fight, regardless of if you have the experience advantage, and this is just the level 13. They had camps available, they'll pick those up, they'll push back LFM, and they'll get in a good spot. And J-How, look where the temples are.
Top bottom, and as much as I stress that ENDEMIC should look to get that bottom lane, to get down that bottom, keep it would 100% guarantee it, they're doing work in every lane. And it's times where you don't always want to let your foot off the gas. But this is a map where you have this much of a sizable lead. The world is your oyster. You can take one temple and trade here, and you still have such a colossal advantage structurally that there's nothing that LFM can do. So playing around those rotations for ENDEMIC, they can literally do whatever they want. And LFM, you can see on the minimap, their rotations around Gilly, they are looking for any chance to get a kill. And it's They're chasing Ghost right now.
Much like the priority for LFM or for ENDEMIC would be to take down that keep, LFM now want to focus on that bottom lane so they don't lose that keep there, especially since with how far behind they've fallen, they're not getting many opportunities to get a fair fight, and this is going to be one of the few getting this 13 and immediately taking the fight. ENDEMIC knows this. They keep Urel up in the top. Phoenix is soaking that out, and they are playing exceptionally in how safe they are, not giving any opportunity at all for LFM to punish.
Well, LFM is making the correct call here by scouting the area, seeing what they can make happen, taking over vision, and then bring Dahaka in if needed. But they bring Dahaka in right away. Dansky with the sidestep. Is it going to be enough? Fury comes in. That's actually going to be a kill. That is a major start for them. We do see ENDEMIC they do rotate to the bottom. The global's no longer there. It's almost wondering, could you have gotten that kill without the rotation from Dahaka? Because now you've got to rotate all the way back down to the bottom of the map. Johanna's positioning, which you can look at on the minimap, is key to making sure that if there is a rotation down, Urel scouting this out as well. They want to keep them at bay, buy as much time, which is why you see Tracer on the point, because she has the most mobility in this composition. So if there is a rotation down, Tracer scoots on out.
I think it's hard because LFM wanted to keep everyone together so that they didn't suffer from somebody dying to ENDEMIC rotating in, and they did get Dansky, and the control was there, and he did try to throw out the isolation, and he's part of the stun lock too, but now Dahaka's not here. Great early Ancestral, but Droplets, he is not out of this.
He's gone, and there might be more to follow. Kira with the big hammers coming in. Biggie, he's not much longer for this world. All the damage is gone. Swabs, he's in the fight. Essence is used. He's going to burrow under for the moment.
Boss.
Wow. And this might be the victory march. This is that 5-minute cycle with that win condition open, and it's played out almost perfectly here for ENDEMIC. They got the bottom lane structures. They ended up getting that bottom temple, which now has opened up a clear path for this boss, and that 5-minute window is up for LFM, and ENDEMIC's going to be looking to end here in just a moment.
I just feel like there is not much better of a game to be played than what we're seeing from ENDEMIC, because it's not only the game plan and the setup, the early push with Phoenix, it's those improvisational moments, pushing mid, losing Dansky top. Okay, we take the temple bottom. That's what we wanted all along. We forced you to come up to respond to us, and then we get the keep instead. Like, this is the ENDEMIC. When we heard that this might be a top 5 team from Fan, this is the ENDEMIC he meant.
Yeah, Fury, he's on the back line, putting damage onto Dansky. Isolation was used as well, but they're just dancing around. Warping in, did get that armor at level 13, another stun. Tranquility's out, the boss is on the core. Salvo's gonna be in response. Pulse Bomb's gonna take down one. Phoenix is gonna be traded out on. Figgy down, and with the shields down and 2 members on the side of LFM, it's all she wrote. ENDEMIC here coming out with a clean 3-0 over LFM.
And it felt like it got cleaner and cleaner throughout the series. That game looked good for ENDEMIC.
More accidental hearths coming out there from Biggie, B-Kid, and Michael Udall, but that was... Look, I know you want more excitement sometimes in Heroes, and there was a decent amount of kills there for ENDEMIC, but if you are a true fan of Heroes and the way this game is played, that was beautiful to watch. Like, to me, watching that unfold and the way that they were able to manipulate and, again, change up the pace on what we generally expect, I would not have asked for a much cleaner game than that.
Yeah, that was a dance, almost, what we just saw from ENDEMIC. And hard times for LFM. It felt like they tried to change some things up from their Series versus Heroes Hearth, and we didn't know what kind of ENDEMIC we would see. We didn't know if the match versus Simplicity would rattle them, because after we saw a very similar showing versus No Tomorrow, though not, I would say not even as clean as what we just saw here. Like, there was that one over-aggressive boss moment that No Tomorrow punished, forced ENDEMIC to have to fight back. We didn't know what ENDEMIC we were going to get here, and it's great to see that they took that loss not too hard from Simplicity.
I think in scrim results and the respect that they get from teams is probably due to games like that, because when you have that potential and you can do that and you can kind of change the pacing a little bit, I mean, it just seemed every single game that first Punisher on Infernal Shrines told me a lot about what they were trying to do coming into today, because getting that much value, 0 kills, mind you, in that early part of that game, but somehow had a level and a half, almost 2-level lead at one point in the middle of that with 0 kills. That is so hard to do. And they were able to do that. Game number 2, another clear strategy. Obviously, backfired a little bit on that first top push on Dragonshire, but even coming into this game, there was a clear and concise strategy for every single game that they played today.
Yeah, and it was stellar to behold. Let's check in and find out more about that strategy from Big E, as we have him here representing ENDEMIC. Big E, congratulations, friend, for your 3-0 win. You guys came in, and it seemed like you had everything figured out strategically. Walk me through how you prepared for this match.
How we prepared was kind of, I think we actually got 4 blocks canceled on this week, so we didn't come in this with a lot of scrims. So I think since we won with that, our teams are like, maybe we shouldn't scrim as much, but I don't think we're gonna do that.
Yeah, probably. Practice is good. That's good.
Yeah.
I want to know about the Phoenix, because you guys had a lot of emphasis on him. He seemed to work out really well in your ability to take out structures really early on. Is this something that was focused on for this match, or do you just feel like that is how strong of a hero he is right now?
A lot of our strategies in Kyr's head, so maybe I'm not the best person to ask, but
Okay.
I think we're just really comfortable as a team with Phoenix, and Dansky said he's OP, and I think he's OP, so we just picked it.
All right. Well, I'll send you over to Jay Howe for more questions. Talk to you soon. Congrats again.
All right, thank you.
I want to address, I guess, the early game strategies, because it seemed like every map you guys have an early game strategy prepared, but it's different, right? We've seen the night rotation, we've seen the early game pushes, but you guys had a clear strategy for everyone. How much of this is improvisation, and how much of this is planned in advance to kind of shake up what we know to be the macro meta that we've seen through the first few weeks?
I mean, it depends on like comps, obviously. Like not every comp is played the same, so depending on what we draft, we have specific strategies. Like if we're a strong push comp, we'll push with knights. If not, then we go the other route.
Well, you guys, you mentioned you had some scrim blocks canceled this week, and you guys had a tale of 2 series last weekend. This is the endemic that a lot of people are kind of touting amongst the top teams. I'm sure you've seen the interviews. A lot of people are saying you guys are a top 5 team. Is this the team that we can expect week in and week out, or how much work do you guys have to do to get this level of play consistently?
We need a lot of work. Like, I mean, we have 3 row swaps, obviously, and everyone's just kind of still finding their rhythm, and we just need to not get complacent. But if we do, I think we'll be there. Just give us some time.
Give us some time. Western Clash still very much in you guys' sights, I imagine, getting that top 4 before then?
Of course.
You got that Tracer pick towards the end there. We were kind of wondering if anybody would get their hands on Tracer or Genji. Obviously, Genji being a high priority ban. But when all of a sudden you see that line of Cassia and Jaina and not a lot of lockdown, what's it like picking Tracer on a map like Sky Temple, knowing that you can pretty much get on that back line pretty easily?
Felt so free. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, well, I guess that's enough words to summarize that. But it definitely looked good, and we know that your Tracer play is top-notch, and you definitely looked amazing that last game and throughout the series. Congrats on the victory today.
Thank you.
Biggie, you guys' next match will be next weekend, and it's versus Team Freedom, and I feel like if you guys play how you played today, that is going to be such an amazing match. What do you feel like you guys need to do to get a win versus Team Freedom in that one?
We just need to prepare well, come up with some strong drafts and some wild stuff if we can, and play well. Don't get complacent. That's the only way.
All right. Well, good luck to you. Good luck in your preparations for that match this week. I'll be looking forward to it. And any shout-outs before you go?
Shout-outs to Paul George, our owner Mike, and ENDEMIC, and shout-out to my teammates and Courtney for being our analyst, and my family.
Thank you, Biggie. Congrats again.
So free. That pretty much summarized it pretty easily.
Free.
That was a really good performance by him. I mean, it was a matter of control, It's like, do I need to go in? No. Can I go in? Yes. Okay, it's free. And I think that to me shows the draft advantage they know. He said the strategies are in Cure's mind. We know Michael Udall has shot calling roles, Dansky, the like that. Again, the experience from Dansky and Cure in particular coming in to solidify that, something Udall touched on previously, is having those minds coming in. And those strategies that we saw today, sure, people are going to learn from them. They're going to watch and